Good evening. This is Kenneth with the Advancing Equity Coalition, here to give y'all a quick recap of what went down at tonight's school board meeting. Obviously, you can see that Heather's not with us tonight. She is enjoying some well-deserved time off with her family before the school year starts. So you just have me, and I hope I can do as well as Heather has done covering for me over the last several months. So this was our first school board meeting after their July break, which is very exciting. It means the school year's just around the corner. As many of you, I'm sure, are very aware and know well. And also, this was the first meeting where all the board members were actually in person. So they're able to have all the board members in person and some members of the public in person as well. Tonight's board meeting was pretty short. They actually have a retreat tomorrow, which I will be attending, and I can provide a recap after I attend that. But they didn't actually talk about too much. They had a couple of virtual public comments, so they'll be continuing with some virtual public comment and then some in-person public comment. And so some of the public comment that was covered tonight, we heard a couple of students speak about the importance of including LGBTQ plus history in the curriculum and really needing to see more diversity in our curriculum and in especially our history curriculum and conversations. And so that was a really important and powerful conversation. A couple of students who identify as LGBTQ shared their personal narrative and perspective. And I think it's definitely worth the watch if you want to go back and check it out. Additionally, we heard a nurse talk about some recommendations that she had for how the America Rescue Plan dollars should be used, because she feels like there's definitely things that need to be done, especially certain schools across the district, in terms of changing their HVAC systems and updating their HVAC systems so that students are breathing better in schools outside of COVID times, but especially in the midst of this pandemic. We also heard the ESP Union President Sean Layden share some of his recommendations on how the America Rescue Plan dollars should be used for learning recovery and the use of ESPs in this plan as well. And so I think it'll be really interesting to see how that conversation develops. He sent a letter yesterday on behalf of the union to the board. And so I thought there is a very thoughtful response, and I know he's on the stakeholder committee as well. Finally, we heard a couple of MFT members share their perspectives around feeling left out of the COVID conversation, around how we're mitigating some of the concerns and some of the risk, especially amongst our unvaccinated population, ages 12 and under. And so, they were feeling like they should be more included in the table. And we heard two different union leaders come and speak about that. Finally, we heard also one teacher also speak about their frustration around not getting some teacher of color data for their bargaining and their conversations around teachers of color yet, or at least very recently, so they don't feel like they have enough time to really provide a substantive proposal. Once the board meeting got started, there are a couple of notable things for parents and the community members just to know. First, that right now there is a mask mandate that is in place for Minneapolis Public Schools, and you can expect additional guidelines and mitigation strategies to be shared within the next 10 days from the district across the entire district. Also, buses will be completing full routes, and so there will not be social distancing taking place on buses, because it will be very difficult to socially distance on a full bus. But you can also expect, and also you can expect delays because of the bus driver shortage. And so just something to be aware of. First day of school, first couple weeks of school, transportation will be tough. I know MPS shared tonight that they'll be looking at additional strategies to alleviate some of the pressure on the buses, and also to try to increase their hiring of bus drivers. Finally, on their two voting items, we know that there's been a lot of conversation and discussion over the last several years about Juneteenth, and now Minneapolis Public Schools is going to recognize Juneteenth as a holiday as well. And so MPS staff who were working on those days will now have a paid holiday, which is very exciting and is a very important step, obviously, in the recognition of, the importance of Juneteenth and the importance to the African American community. And then finally, in this past legislative session, the legislature passed a law that would allow up to 5 e-learning days due to inclement weather. And so Director Ellison called this the snow day killer law, and which is very unfortunate because I loved snow days as a kid. But this allows MPS to transition into virtual learning that will include some asynchronous and some synchronous learning, but they can only do it for up to 5 days. And so they approved that plan as well. So those were the quick hits of tonight's school board meeting. As I said, tomorrow there will be a retreat for the board that I will be attending, and so there'll definitely be much more substance in that conversation, and I will be happy to recap that for y'all later this week. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.